The hospital's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I stared at my trembling hands. This was the third time in 2 months I'd ended up in the emergency room with the same mysterious symptoms. The doctors were baffled, my parents were frustrated, and my sister Sarah, well, she was being oddly attentive. "Here's your tea, Liv," Sarah said sweetly, placing a steaming cup on my bedside table. "Mom and Dad are talking to the doctor outside." I watched her carefully arrange the cup, knowing how she'd started bringing me drinks ever since my symptoms began. The perfectly maintained French manicure, the concerned sister act, it was all part of her flawless image. "I'm not thirsty," I replied, watching her face twitch slightly. "But you need to stay hydrated," she insisted, pushing the cup closer. "The doctors said so." Through the window in my hospital room door, I could see our parents gesturing animatedly at Dr. Martinez. Even without hearing them, I knew exactly what they were saying. The same things they'd been repeating for weeks. Olivia's always been jealous of her sister's success. She's just seeking attention. Ever since Sarah got promoted to head surgeon, Olivia's been acting out. What they didn't know was that I finally outsmarted their perfect daughter. It started 2 months ago, right after Sarah's promotion celebration dinner. I'd been fine until then, successful in my own right as a biochemist, though my achievements always paled in comparison to my sister's surgical career in her parents' eyes. But after that dinner, everything changed. First came the dizziness, then the unexplained fever, followed by severe stomach cramps. Each episode coincided perfectly with Sarah's caring sister visits, always accompanied by a drink or food she prepared specially for me. The symptoms were familiar, too familiar for someone with my background in biochemistry, but I needed proof. "The doctors think it's all in my head," I said, watching Sarah's reflection in the window as she adjusted my pillows. "They're running one last round of tests." "Oh?" Her hands paused momentarily. "What kind of tests?" I smiled weakly. "Just the usual. Blood work, I think." Sarah relaxed visibly. Blood tests hadn't shown anything the previous times. She didn't know that this time was different. 2 weeks ago, I contacted Dr. James Chen, an old colleague from my research days. He'd agreed to run specialized toxicology screens, tests that would detect substances the regular hospital panels might miss. "Miss Foster," a nurse appeared at the door. "Dr. Martinez would like to speak with you and your family." My parents filed in, looking exhausted and irritated. Mom's perfectly styled hair was slightly disheveled, Dad's tie loosened, signs of their growing frustration with their younger daughter's episodes. "Olivia," Mom started, her voice strained, "this has to stop. These hospital visits, these mysterious symptoms, you're worrying everyone for nothing. Your sister has patients she needs to attend to," Dad added, glancing admiringly at Sarah. "She can't keep taking time off to look after you." Sarah placed a sympathetic hand on my arm, her grip slightly too tight. "We just want you to be okay, Liv. Maybe you should talk to someone, professionally." Dr. Martinez entered then, holding a tablet and looking unusually serious. "I've received some additional test results," he said, glancing at each family member before focusing on me. "These are concerning." I watched Sarah's face carefully as he continued. "We found significant traces of thallium in Miss Foster's system. It's a highly toxic substance typically used in rat poison." He looked up gravely. "This level of exposure isn't accidental." The room went silent. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad's face paled, but I kept watching Sarah. Her perfect mask slipped for just a moment. Shock, then anger, then fear flashing across her features before she composed herself. "That's impossible," she said smoothly. "How would Olivia be exposed to something like that?" Actually, I spoke up, my voice stronger than it had been in weeks. Dr. Chen's lab found something else interesting. I reached under my pillow and pulled out a sealed evidence bag containing a familiar travel mug. The one Sarah always brought my special tea in. I had the residue tested, I continued, watching her composure crack. "Would you like to explain to Mom and Dad why your fingerprints are all over a mug containing traces of thallium, dear sister?" The security guards I'd quietly requested earlier appeared at the door. Sarah's perfect mask finally shattered completely. Sometimes the most dangerous poison isn't in a cup, it's in the smile of someone who's supposed to love you. The police interrogation room was a stark contrast to my hospital room. Detective Morgan sat across from me, reviewing the evidence collected from Sarah's apartment. The search had revealed more than anyone expected. We found her journal, Detective Morgan said, sliding a clear evidence bag containing a leather-bound notebook across the table, along with a significant amount of thallium and other substances in her home office. I touched the bag gently, recognizing Sarah's precise handwriting. The entries were methodical, clinical, just like her. Day 47. Increased dosage to 1.5 ml. Subject showing increased symptoms. Parents still dismissive. Perfect. Subject, not sister, not Olivia. Just the subject. There's more, Detective Morgan continued, her voice gentle. We found records going back years. Other incidents. My hands trembled as I read through the photocopy pages she provided. 3 nurses at Sarah's hospital had mysteriously fallen ill over the past 2 years. All had recovered after transferring to different departments. All had previously filed complaints about Sarah's methods or behavior. She's what we call an angel of malice, Detective Morgan explained. Medical professionals who use their knowledge to harm instead of heal, usually for control, power, or attention. The irony wasn't lost on me. They called me the attention seeker, while Sarah had been systematically poisoning people who threatened her perfect image. My phone buzzed. Another message from Mom. Please tell them this is a mistake. Your sister would never do this. Think about her career. I turned the phone face down as Detective Morgan spoke again. Your parents are still in denial, but the evidence is overwhelming. The DA is pressing charges. A knock at the door interrupted us. Officer Chen entered with a USB drive. We've finished analyzing her computer. You need to see this. The footage played on the detective's laptop, security camera videos from my apartment building. Sarah, using her spare key, entering when I was out. Adding something to my water filter, my tea bags, my coffee maker, all with the same calm efficiency she used in surgery. Your suspicions saved your life, Detective Morgan said. The levels she was using, they were increasing. Another month, and she didn't need to finish. I knew exactly what thallium poisoning could do if left unchecked. Ms. Foster? A court courier entered with documents. The restraining order has been approved. Your sister and parents cannot contact you during the investigation. I signed the papers, remembering last night's scene at the hospital after Sarah's arrest. Mom had collapsed dramatically. Dad had roared about family loyalty, both insisting I was making a terrible mistake. They'd chosen their perfect daughter over the truth. Again. There's something else you should know, Detective Morgan said after the courier left. We found files about your research work. Your recent breakthrough in biochemical analysis? I froze. 3 months ago, I developed a new method for detecting toxic substances in organic matter. The paper was pending publication. She was planning to publish it under her name. Officer Chen confirmed. She had a draft ready, claiming she developed the method during her hospital research. The final piece clicked into place. My illness had started right after I'd mentioned the pending publication at her promotion dinner. She couldn't stand that I might outshine her, even in a different field. My phone buzzed again. Dad, this time. Your mother is sedated. How could you do this to our family? Detective Morgan noticed my expression. You know, we have victim support services available. People who understand what it's like when family. No, I interrupted, straightening up. I spent my whole life being the unstable one, the attention seeker. Not anymore. I picked up the evidence bag with Sarah's journal. Years of subtle manipulation, careful poisoning, calculated cruelty, all documented in her perfect handwriting. The marks of someone who never thought she'd be caught. What happens now? I asked. The trial will take time, Detective Morgan explained. With the evidence we have, plus your documentation and Dr. Chen's tests, she's facing serious charges. Multiple counts of attempted murder, assault with a toxic substance, medical misconduct. I stood up, gathering my things. Outside the interrogation room, I could see my reflection in the window, still pale from the poisoning, but stronger than I've been in months. No more mysterious symptoms. No more gaslighting. No more perfect sister casting her shadow. One more thing, Officer Chen added. The medical board wants your testimony about the hospital incidents. Your sister's medical license is being reviewed. I nodded, thinking of those nurses who'd gotten sick, who transferred rather than face the golden girl of the hospital. They deserved justice too. As I left the police station, my phone buzzed one final time. A message from my publisher. Paper fast-tracked for publication. Groundbreaking method. Congratulations, Dr. Foster. Sometimes the truth is like a poison, bitter but necessary for healing to begin. 6 months later, I stood outside the courthouse, watching reporters gather for the verdict. My research paper had made waves in the scientific community, leading to improved detection methods for poison cases. Ironically, Sarah's attempt to steal my work had only made it more prominent. The jury has reached a verdict, my lawyer, Ms. Harrison, announced, approaching with Detective Morgan. Are you ready? I smoothed down my blazer, no longer the weak victim in a hospital gown. Yes. Inside, the courtroom was packed. My parents sat in the front row, both looking aged beyond their years. Mom's designer clothes hung loose on her frame. Dad's hair had gone completely gray. They still wouldn't meet my eyes. Sarah sat at the defendant's table, her prison jumpsuit a stark contrast to her usual surgical scrubs. She'd lost weight, but her posture remained perfect, her expression calculated. Even now, she was performing. The judge entered, and the room fell silent. Will the defendant please rise? Sarah stood, chin high, hands clasped. She'd refused a plea deal, confident in her ability to manipulate the jury just as she'd manipulated everyone else her entire life. On the charge of attempted murder in the first degree, how does the jury find? Guilty. On the multiple counts of assault with a toxic substance, guilty. On the charges of medical misconduct and endangerment, guilty. With each verdict, Sarah's perfect mask cracked further. By the time the judge finished reading all 18 counts, her face had transformed into something I'd never seen before. Raw, ugly rage. Before sentencing, the judge said, "Would the victim like to make a statement?" I stood, my voice clear and steady. My sister is a surgeon who took an oath to do no harm. Instead, she used her medical knowledge to systematically poison not only me but others who threatened her image of perfection. She is not sick. She is not misunderstood. She made calculated decisions to hurt people who trusted her. I turned to face Sarah directly. You didn't just poison my body. You poisoned our family with your lies. You poisoned my reputation with your manipulations, but you failed. The truth was stronger than your toxins. The judge nodded gravely. Sarah Foster, this court sentences you to 25 years in state prison, with no possibility of parole for 15 years. Your medical license is permanently revoked. Sarah finally snapped. You ungrateful little bitch. She screamed as officers moved to restrain her. I made you interesting. You were nothing before this. Nothing. As they led her away, our parents finally looked at me. Mom was crying. Dad seemed to have aged another decade in the past hour. Olivia, Mom started, reaching out, but I stepped back. Don't, I said quietly. You had chances to believe me, to protect me. You chose her perfect lies over my painful truth every time. Outside, reporters shouted questions. Dr. Foster, how did you discover the poisoning? Will your detection method be implemented in hospitals? What do you say to families dealing with medical abuse? Detective Morgan helped shield me from the crowd, but I paused at the microphone stand. To anyone who's being told their pain isn't real, that they're seeking attention, that they're imagining things, trust yourself. The truth leaves evidence, even when others refuse to see it. Later that evening, I sat in my new office at the Research Institute, where I now headed the toxicology department. On my desk sat a framed copy of my published paper, which had already helped solve 3 cold cases of suspected poisoning. My phone buzzed. A message from Detective Morgan. Another hospital found suspicious patterns matching your sister's MO. 5 cases. They want your consulting expertise. I looked at the old family photo on my wall, taken when Sarah and I were children, before her need for perfection turned poisonous, before our parents became blind to her darkness. I took it down, placing it in a drawer. Opening my laptop, I replied to Detective Morgan, "Send me the files." Sometimes healing means helping others find the truth you had to find alone. Sometimes justice is the best antidote to poison. The sun was setting outside my office window, casting long shadows. But unlike before, I wasn't afraid of what lurked in them anymore. The truth, like science, doesn't need people to believe in it to be real. It simply waits to be discovered, one careful observation at a time. I had work to do, other victims to help, other poisons to detect, other truths to uncover. After all, that's what real healers do.